Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is episode number 108, and we're doing our thoughts on Carnival's new loyalty program and Royal Caribbean's Royal Beach Club in Nassau. Let's jump into it.
All right, so for the first piece of cruise news today, the Carnival Vista actually set sail for the inaugural visit to Celebration Key. It's going to be visiting on July 19th. You know, Carnival is going to be, I think, streaming like an opening welcome ceremony type thing on their Facebook page, 10 a.m. next Saturday, so make sure to go check that out. We'll probably do an episode sometime in the future kind of diving deeper into Celebration Key, kind of like we've done with some of the other private islands out there, but I'm excited to kind of just hear the initial feedback once the island opens.
Michael, we've got a kind of funny cruise news for this week. Royal Caribbean is now banning the ducks in Central Park in the bushes. So it's kind of a funny thing. You know, basically, Central Park is a great spot to hide ducks because you've got these little bushes, you've got things where you can plop them down, and you wouldn't really see them when you're walking by in Central Park. We've now noticed that they're putting signs around Central Park saying, please don't hide your ducks here. I think it has to do with trying to preserve the plants, keep people from kind of digging up the beds and the flower beds in Central Park. So just kind of a funny thing, but it was a good spot to hide ducks. Rest in peace, duck hiding in Central Park, because it was a fun thing to do after dinner. But you can hide ducks still anywhere else on the ship. Just kind of a funny piece of cruise news today.
You know, personally, I never found a duck in Central Park. I never hidden one in there, but I guess, I don't get a chance to do that anymore. But like you said, plenty of other spots around the ship to hide and find ducks. The last piece of cruise news we have for the day, shout out to Blake for sending this our way. The Cruise of Deception, Frank. This is the second Cruise of Deception happening. If you're like, what is the Cruise of Deception? If you're a fan of the TV show The Traders, they've kind of been doing their own little cruise where they kind of play the traders on the ship. So I know it's going to be next year on Royal Caribbean's Independence of the Seas. You have some people from the show. So you have Sandra, Stephanie, Trishelle, Peter, Rachel, Brandy, Brittany. All of these former players of the show, and obviously some have been on Survivor, The Challenge, some other shows out there. They're all going to be on this sailing, and I don't know, it seems real cool because you get to kind of interact with them during kind of when you're playing the traders. They host some private events on the ship, and so kind of one thing to note here with these type of things, you have to book through the Cruise of Deception's website. You can't book through Royal Caribbean. They've kind of made it known, like if you were to just go book on Royal site, you're not booking into these special events that are hosted on the ship. So I'm hoping this one goes good. Recently, there was like a Big Brother cruise, I think, Frank, and all these players got back from it and we're kind of like, we're not working with whatever company hosted this anymore. I don't know if people didn't get paid. I don't know if things just went bad, but it was like player after player. Once they got back, we're like, nope. So I don't know. I've never done any of these type of cruises before that, like some of these, not the TV shows themselves putting them on, but that have like players from some of these shows on there. But if you're a fan of The Traders, like I said, it's one of my favorite shows out there right now. It'd be a super cool cruise to go play and hang with some former traders.
Yeah, Michael, that sounds like an awesome cruise. I know I love The Traders as well, and who doesn't love an opportunity to get on a beautiful ship, Independence of the Seas, and play it, be part of the game, right? Like, that's really cool. Are you planning on booking it?
I don't know. I have to look at my calendar. I think I saw for an interior for 2 people. I think it's an 8-day cruise. It was like a little over $3,000. So, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's going to be more expensive than kind of booking on the sailing with Royal. But like you said, you're getting these special events and getting to play and be around some of the people who used to be on the show.
Yeah, when we were on our cruise on Quantum, there was like a special group that they were like a big group, I think from Texas, that they were renting out spaces. So a lot of times with these charters or even some of these larger groups, they get access to, like you said, different events. They have giveaways. So if you did go on that exact cruise, you could still book it through Royal. You just wouldn't get to partake in those activities. So awesome. That's a good piece of cruise news. So we have a really fun couple topics for today. If you've been following, I think this kind of goes with the theme of cruise news. Want to go through our thoughts on Carnival's new loyalty program. This has been what everyone's been talking about in the cruise world over the last few weeks. We've been following a lot and wanted to take some time to chew on it a little bit, if you will, and just kind of make our own thoughts around the Carnival loyalty program, not just rattle off what everyone else is saying. So we're going to try to bring some information to you guys, but also just try to think logistically around how this is going to work and who it's really for. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Royal Beach Club in Nassau, so I'm excited to dive into that. We're going to talk about these topics. We also want you guys to join in. So next Saturday, we're going to go live on YouTube. Michael, myself, and the Cruising Bear. We did this a couple weeks ago. We're excited to go live again on YouTube. We'll actually put the link below. So, and I guess as this comes out Wednesday, a few days later, make sure that you're subscribed to us on YouTube at Cruise Conversations Podcast. Hit that bell so you get notified when we go live. It'll be noon, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Saturday the 19th. We want you to join. Talk about some of these topics. What do you think about the loyalty program? What do you think about Celebration Key? What do you think about the Royal Beach Club? We want to get your thoughts, and then any other cruise news that's out there, anything that you want to talk about, you have any questions about cruising, let's just get on and chat for an hour or so on Saturday. So looking forward to that. Come join us and be a part. So let's dive in, Michael. Let's talk about Carnival's loyalty program. So before they announced all of this over the last few weeks, Carnival had a very similar program to all the other cruise lines out there. I think they had like 5 or 6 different tiers. They had the status for life model where your status never expired, right? It was the VIFP, very important fun person. Now it's becoming Carnival Rewards. And I think the main reason, when you look at what they're doing, we'll talk about what they're doing, but the main reason is that they're claiming that they have too many top tier members. I think they had like 1,000 plus top tier members on their Excel ships, and they felt like giving a positive experience and really treating the loyalty top tier members well was difficult for them given the high numbers. So Michael, let's kind of dive into what are the changes? How did Carnival plan to address having too many members in their top tiers of their program?
All right, yeah, so jumping into what the program kind of looks like now. So when you look at kind of their old program and how it kind of compared to a bunch of the other cruise lines, like you said, it was similar, right? You were getting pretty much a point per night based on your sail length. So if you were sailing 7 days on a sailing, you got 7 points. And then once you hit certain thresholds, pretty much you moved up to the different status levels. So I think currently I'm gold on Carnival. That may be 20 nights or so. And like you said, there's like 4, 5, 6 different loyalty levels. And like you said, they were for life. Well, one of the biggest changes now is they blew up the entire thing. It has taken a lot of backlash. So it'll be interesting to see. They announced the program starting next year, how much more is going to evolve, how much more may end up changing just based on the feedback they've gotten so far. So now the new program, unlike the old program, like we said, each day you sailed, you got a point. It's a whole new point system now, right? So you're going to get points pretty much on money you spend, whether that's on your Carnival sailings, like booking your sailings, whether that's on the ship. They're going to be rolling out a credit card that, depending on how much you spend on that, you're going to get points. Playing in the casino is going to get you points. There's a whole bunch of different ways you're going to get points. And I think most of it breaks down as like 3 points per dollar spent, I think. And then here, you're going to have your status levels, but it's going to work kind of like an airline credit card or some of like the hotels where you have to keep continuing to earn your status. They're doing every 2 years pretty much. You'll get status and be able to enjoy kind of the benefits that are in that level. But then you got to keep, like you said, it's not for life anymore like the last model. And I think that's where a lot of people are upset right now. If you're some of their higher levels right now, like Diamond and Platinum, you don't want to restart, right? And I know their top level, they're given like 6 years to kind of get back to that status, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, I'll let you kind of break down how many points you're going to need to get to these levels. So that's kind of the basis right now.
Yeah, Michael, I think you hit a lot of the good points there in terms of what it's going to look like. I think, to your point, the requalification of every 2 years is what people are really struggling with, because when you look at airline, like they're definitely comparing this, they're looking at the travel industry as a whole. And when you look at the travel industry, like the airlines, like the hotels, first of all, those types of travel are like, you can't really get out of going to a hotel. Even when you go on a cruise, a lot of times you can't like choose to stay in a hotel. You have to stay in a hotel, right? Like it's a forced way. Like I'm going to go to California from Charlotte. I have to fly. Like I can't. And now that I know I have to fly, I get to choose, am I going to go American, Delta, Frontier, United, whatever, right? But cruising in itself is not like a required form of travel, right? Cruising is a choice of, am I going to go to this resort? Am I going to go over to Europe? I mean, within that trip, you're probably going to hit a flight and a hotel already. So where my point is that the airlines and the hotel brands, they're doing a very similar model to this, but those are things where typically business travelers, people that are forced to go travel, are already accruing those points. Where I feel like a cruise is different is that like you're physically choosing against other options to go on a cruise. So in order to get their top tier status, Michael, for Diamond, it's 100,000 points. And for, that what we said, it's 3 points per dollar spent. That's $33,000 that you'd have to spend every 2 years on Carnival. Now, I know I go on a lot of cruises. I think that's 33,000 in 2 years, unless you're traveling with a lot of people or you're getting like a really crazy suite or you're just cruising every month. Very unlikely that you're going to, hit that top status. So I want to dive in now. We've kind of laid out what their program looks like, kind of the pain points. Now, Michael, let's go through our thoughts. Let's kind of break it down. Who is this program going to benefit? Who's going to be hurt by this program? Kind of wrap up our thoughts on this.
All right, so the first thing I think we should look at that I think is pretty cool is how you're actually able to spend these points. So you look at the current program out there, the VIFP program, pretty much based on your status level. I mean, there are some benefits on the sailings, but none of them are like too big. Like some of them are like a special pin, or I think they're doing like VIFP branded packing cubes for certain levels right now. They do like a diamond party or something one of the nights on the sailings. But when you look at like the monetary value of it, this is where this program I feel like lacks compared to like Royals, for example, like with your free drinks. You're not getting that like 4 free drinks a day on any of these Carnival tier levels. Now with these new points you're getting, you'll be able to spend them however you want. They've kind of listed out some things you're going to be able to spend points on, and it's like a wide variety. It's things from, drinks on your sailing, specialty dining, excursions, even booking like a 3, 4, 5 day cruise using points. So the cool thing is yeah, I mean, you're kind of like a rewards credit card, right? That you build up points and can spend them however you want. Carnival's going to be doing that with these points. So I think it's pretty neat. I mean, I'll get into some other thoughts I have of kind of how they could kind of balance the program out a little more in the future. But I think that's kind of like one of the first thoughts I have is, that is pretty cool because based on the points you're getting, you may be getting better benefits than what Carnival's currently offering. And one other point I think that when I've kind of been thinking it over is you asked who's it going to benefit, right? And I think one thing to look at is if you're booking like a balcony or like pretty much more than just a standard interior, because on most of the lines loyalty programs right now, if you book an interior, you book a balcony, it's going to be the same number of days towards your status level. So this is kind of saying, hey, I am spending a little more money on a balcony. I am getting a drink package on most of my sailings, let's say, for example. They're giving you more points for that. So now I know some people are like, well, like, is that loyalty or is it just going to be a spending race? And that's another thing to look at. But yeah, I want to hear kind of some of your first thoughts on this, Frank.
I think those were good points because ultimately you're right. Like being able to choose how you spend your points. Sometimes if you're not a drinker on Royals program, like those free drinks may not be worth as much to you. So I like, I could use it on an excursion on this cruise. Like you kind of get to choose what you want while you're on board for that specific sailing. So it actually is, if they can figure out the point system, I think that could be really cool. Switching over to what you were saying about like the interior versus the balcony, it really will benefit the people that spend more on their cruise. At the end of the day, right? Like if you're like just the cheapest cruiser on Royal, let's say you just get an interior room, no Wi-Fi, no drink package, you drink the free drinks on there, you eat in the main dining room every night, you're still getting the same status as anyone else that's maybe spending five times the amount. Like booking like on a 3-night cruise, they're booking all the drink packages, they're doing all this stuff. But on Royal, it doesn't matter, right? They're not going to get any more points, anything else, unless they're in the suite, right? So like, it's a great point. They're going to be getting more points and more back that they can use in other ways. I think it hurts the people the most to that are not going to spend any more money on their cruise, that are trying to do a budget-friendly vacation, and it really tailors it to people that want to splurge. And it's interesting because Carnival's demographic is typically, I'm not trying to say that they're not a spender, but I think it's known as a lower cost option, right? It's known as like one of the cheapest or one of the lower cost cruise lines out there. And so it's interesting that they're changing to a direction where they're encouraging people to spend more and to come on and not just book a base fare and try to smuggle on drinks. They're like, no, please buy the drink package because we're going to now reward you for that. Part of me is also trying to like say like, I hope that this isn't out of like greed, but it feels like it. Like as a customer, you're like, it just feels like they want you, to your point, like spend more money. And I think there's other ways they probably could have addressed this problem. So going back to the problem statement, the problem was that too many loyalty members of the top tiers. To me, there's a couple options, right? Number one, add more levels, right? Number two, adjust the criteria for those levels. So maybe you say instead of getting to diamond in X number of points or X number of nights, it now takes double that to get there, right? So build a longer kind of, I guess, runway to get to that top tier, and then like change up the benefits, right? So if you're going to make it harder to get there to those top tiers, give them something else, right? Give them a better lounge, or give them the free drinks, or give them Wi-Fi on the cruise or whatever. But they're not doing that. So to me, it's like, it's kind of rubbing. That's like going back to why it's rubbing people the wrong way. That's why, it's because it's driving people and pushing people to spend more in order to get more. And I guess the question is, how is that balance going to play out with how much do I get versus how much am I spending? I think that's where it really comes down to.
Yeah, and if you're someone who has a higher status right now, you're probably like the ones more annoyed. Like me as gold, I'm not getting much right now as it is. And I enjoy Carnival. I enjoy Royal. I've enjoyed MSC. Like, I'm not just like loyal to one specific line. So yeah, my status is on all the line. I mean, if I was just Royal, yeah, it could be higher up than kind of bouncing around. But yeah, I'm not out there just chasing status. So I think, like, for me personally, I think the new reward system could be cool depending on how they finally narrow this thing down. I think a hybrid system could have also kind of been cool. Like, you still kept your status, right? Your lifelong status per your days, and maybe that gets you your certain colored card for your cruises, but then also kind of built out this new reward system where, yeah, you can get more points and all of that and spend them how you will. Whereas, like you said, if you kind of did like this 2-track thing, maybe you're not really getting necessarily benefits from the, hey, you're getting a point a day type thing cruising, and it's just your car, hey, I'm gold, hey, I'm diamond. And because I feel like that's what people are going to just be the most annoyed about is, oh man, I'm starting back down at the lowest level card. But at the end of the day, it is just a card. So overall, like we said, a lot of backlash right at the start. I feel like they are kind of, I know I pulled up the website earlier and they'd already kind of added some new things. I think it was something like once you hit like 50 days, you got already like some extra points or a gift, and then again at 100 days. So I know that wasn't announced at the start. So I'm sure they're going to keep kind of rolling out some new details in the weeks and months ahead.
Michael, I like your idea. I actually will build and tweak your idea. I think the hybrid model is good. Encourage people to spend through the credit card, the casino, and just by booking expensive stuff, like whether that's with drink package, and give them the like option to use points for stuff. I think like you said, keep the loyalty tied to the nights, but then add some onboard, like the reoccurring onboard stuff that you would get. If you're a diamond, give them give them the drinks, give them the Wi-Fi, give them things at Celebration Key that they would get like every, 10th cruise, they get a cabana. Like, add that stuff in, because I think the value in choosing the cruise line is, what do I get when I go on Carnival versus if I'm going to flip over and go to a Royal Norwegian, why am I still choosing Carnival? And I think that's what it comes down to. So will other cruise lines adopt this model? I hope not right now as it is. I think there's a chance. There's a chance they will. Again, how greedy, or it's going to come down to two things. One, basically the other cruise lines right now are sitting back. It's that meme where you're eating popcorn and you're like, just like, oh my gosh. They're watching, they're seeing what's going to happen, right? They're just trying to figure out, number one, will loyal customers walk away from Carnival because of this? And number two, will this actually deliver better bottom line, financials, right? Like, are they actually going to be spending more money on board and on Carnival? And so I bet that's what the two things the cruise lines are looking at right now. We'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed they keep their night. I like the nights personally. All right, Royal Beach Club. Let's switch over to Royal Beach Club. Royal announced that they are going to be opening the Royal Beach Club in Nassau on December 27th. So we're coming up on about 5 months, a little over 5 months till we'll get to actually see people on that little strip. For those that have not been following along, this is the little strip of land when you pull into the port on the left in Nassau. It'll be one of the first things that all cruises see when they come in. You can't really miss it. They've been doing construction now for probably over a year and just clearing the land. And when you look at this, because this is controversial. So again, if you have thoughts on this, join us on this coming Saturday, the 19th of July, 12 p.m. Eastern. Let's talk about it. But this is controversial. I'm seeing a lot of people giving feedback on the price of this and trying to compare it to Mr. Sancho's in Mexico and comparing it to Coco Cay and comparing it to Ocean Cay. But at the end of the day, you have to think of this as Royal Caribbean's private excursion in Nassau. It's a private, it's excursion. Like at the end of the day, it's not a perfect day experience. We already know Mexico is coming and it's going to be completely different. Royal Caribbean feels that they were forced to create this upscale beach club experience because ultimately Nassau options are limited and they're not great. There's not great excursions that you can do in Nassau, and the ones that are out there, the ones that are good are expensive. If you're looking at Baja Mar, if you're looking at Atlantis, those are expensive things, and ultimately Royal does well on their 3 to 4 night sailings, as we know. So Nassau is a big part of their destinations, and people aren't getting off and doing anything. And so Royal's like, hey, this is an opportunity for us to take a bit of cash, make some money, make an investment, and hopefully see a return on people now getting off and enjoying Nassau and making a memorable day there, really, when they're off the ship. So in terms of pricing, this is brand new, so this may change, just like Carnival's loyalty program might change. This might change as well. $250 for unlimited alcohol in the full beach club experience. Again, you can drink as much as you want on the island. You have Wi-Fi on the island, which some people also forget about. If you don't want drinks, like if you don't want the alcoholic drinks, you do have to pay for the next tier down, which is $199 for the day currently. And what's really cool, Michael, is they're doing some extra packages that include the Royal Beach Club, but also like drinks on the cruise. So like you think about a 3-night cruise, you get on in Miami or Port Canaveral. That next day you're in Nassau. You're paying for the Royal Beach Club, but then you have the drinks on day 1 and day 3 when you're either, boarding the ship at 11 a.m. and partying on the pool deck, or you're in Coco Cay. You can use that drink package as well. And they're doing I think it's like $125 a person per day. So that comes out to like $375, which includes the drinks on the cruise plus the Royal Beach Club. And then they're also doing, if you want Hideaway Beach, I think it's like an extra $10 a day for that. So at Coco Cay, you get Hideaway Beach. At Nassau, you get the Royal Beach Club, and then you get drinks while you're on the ship. I don't think that this is horrible because ultimately that comes out to like 9 or 10 drinks a day, which sounds like a lot, but that includes all of these spaces too that are private, right? It's an upscale experience at Hideaway as well as Royal Beach Club. Looks really cool. So, Michael, I want to hear your thoughts, right? Like, what are you really paying for at this private excursion in Nassau? Why do you feel like Royal Caribbean has the prices that they do? Do you think it's overpriced? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, looking at these prices, right, you said $250 for your admission and alcohol at the island. Royal does all their pricing dynamically, right? So I can just imagine the code running to try and figure out how it's pricing, especially the packages, right? These, your day at the beach club, Hideaway, and also having a drink package on the cruise, then depending on the itinerary of the ship. It already has to be pretty complex, I would think. But First hearing the pricing, I did think it was a little high. I'm not going to lie. Now I know you kind of were talking about Mr. Sancho's and some of those places. I think you also got to look at right in Nassau, Atlantis right there. Like you said, the Baja Mar Water Park. And I think like Margaritaville, that's over, I think, $100 a person. So kind of like you knew it was going to be on at least like the level of those, right? Just because, I mean, they can. Like you said, there's only so many options there. You can price it kind of however you want. But like you said, you're getting a lot with it. I mean, in that price, like you said, you're getting your drinks, you're getting the complete access to the area, the pools, the food, all of that. So I don't know. I'm excited to go check it out. I think it's, like we said, this is the first beach club they're building. They're going to be building another beach club in the future in Cozumel, I think, right? I'm sure the Cozumel one will probably follow like a lot of this with the pricing, and then you may end up seeing packages where you get both the beach club in Nassau and the beach club in Cozumel. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's terribly priced. Like you said, especially if you break down, if you do the big combo, like you said, it ends up coming out like 9 drinks a day or whatnot. And I think if you're going to go to the beach club and already, you're already getting a drink package, yeah, depending on what the price of the drink package is, it may just make sense, like you said, to do the big combo one. But then I guess you could also see the side of it of, hey, I don't want to drink every day on the cruise. I just want to go have a big party one day in Nassau and pay that $250, and you're drinking whatever you want. Like you said, you also have like your Wi-Fi and some stuff there, and you can kind of just not go hard for the day, but like splurge for the day and kind of have access to all of that type stuff. And my last thought, I also think the little transport back and forth to the ship seems super easy and cool.
Yeah, I agree, Michael. I think it is. There was a sticker shock. People are like, I'm getting annoyed a little bit because like I see other travel agents posting things that's like tearing it down. And I'm like, to me, that's not the right way to sell. And I know you guys know we're travel agents, whatever, but like the right way, I don't think that they're giving it a fair comparison, right? And if you're going to throw Mr. Sancho's in there, and even if you look at the Mexico pricing is just cheaper in general, right? Like the drinks and everything at Mr. Sancho's is like $60 a day. Margaritaville, Michael, I think it's well over $100 a day, but that doesn't include food, that doesn't include drinks. Like you're going to be at $200 at the end of the day. So like it's around the same price. And I think that they're not going to be able to launch this at $250 in Mexico. There's just no way people will choose to do it. So I think they're just going to have to approach that when they get there. But for what it is, I think it is a cool concept. You also have to remember, it's a small piece of land, right? They can't have 15,000, 20,000 people coming to this small little strip of land. Like their goal is not to overcrowd and have you standing shoulder to shoulder. It's also to make it a good experience, right? So because it's a small piece of land, because there's a limited number of spots, I don't know exactly how many there are. They're pricing it to make sure that, hey, it's an upscale, experience. We're going to limit the number of people that can come. And you might have 3 ships from Royal that day, and you're going to have people from all 3 ships coming over. So you got to think about that as well. It's not just your cruise. But overall, I like the packages. I'm glad that they did that, especially to your point, Michael. Like the question would become, do I spend $250 on one day and just like drink all day, like you said, and eat and splurge, and then just not really do the drink package on the cruise? Or do I just pay an extra $150 and have the drinks at Coco Cay, the drinks on day one, Hideaway Beach, and all that stuff? So they're really making you think about what you want your vacation to look like and giving you those options. And that was also one of the things that I thought about was like that it's going to be tough to pay $250 and not have the drinks, but I like what they're doing. So ultimately, I'm really, really excited for this private. We have to book our cruise. We're going to try to get out there in December or January, check it out, report back to you guys, of course, what we think. But ultimately, this spot is going to be awesome. Multiple beaches. I think every pool has a swim-up bar, which is really cool. And then there's kind of like a party spot, a chill spot. They'll have their normal snack shack food, and then they'll have some other options as well. But really looking forward to seeing what people think about this as it comes out later in this fall. And I'm excited.
Yeah, I was about to say, between this opening up in December, like we said at the start, Celebration Key opening up literally next week, there's a lot of new destinations coming out that you're going to be able to go check out, experience, and spend your days on, that the cruise lines are putting together in some of these ports of call. So, yeah, I'm excited to hopefully get down to the beach club, like we said, later this year, starting next year, hopefully get down to Celebration Key at some point in the future, and really just, like we said, experience these new experiences. Because, like you said, most all our cruises go to Nassau, and once you're in Nassau so many times, you kind of just tend to stay on the ship and just do kind of like a sea day. Yeah, so I'm just, super excited to eventually go check them out and, like we said, report back here to y'all our thoughts on these destinations. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. It was nice, Frank, to kind of sit back down again. We've had kind of been doing some of our Alaska stuff lately, but now I'm going to sit down, talk over some cruise news, some of these, topics that we've missed out on the past couple weeks. But like we said at the start, make sure we're going to be going on YouTube Live next Saturday at noon Eastern time. So make sure to come on. We're going to talk over these topics, be in the chat, kind of give us your thoughts on, like we said, Carnival's new rewards program, the beach club that Royal's building in Nassau, and anything else. Like we said, we're just going to pop on for about an hour and chat with y'all, chat with the Cruising Bear. And yeah, so make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. And as always, if you're ready to book your next cruise vacation, you can reach out to us at 704-313-8556 or check out our website at cruiseconversationspodcast.com. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.